Good evening, this is the Oscar expert here with Brother Bro, and it's time for Oscar predictions for the winners. This is not final predictions. We're not idiots. We're going to wait for SAG and BAFTA, but they are our February predictions. Let's kick it right off. Best Picture. What could be... Hello? Who the fuck is that? We gotta go. Gotta get the door. What? Who on earth could this be?
Guys, I am here to help you with your Oscar predictions.
Oh, it's our good friend Matt from Next Best Picture. Well, come on over, guys. There's room for 3.
This is incredible. I cannot believe that I'm here right now with the Oscar expert and Brother Bro.
In our Hollywood studio, we flew you out to LA. All right, so Matt, what do you think about the fact that we are where we are with Everything Everywhere in most people's predictions as the winner?
I'm terrified right now.
Okay.
Truly.
Wow. Just fear, just pure fear.
You don't want to be the front runner. You
I
just
agree.
don't
It's
want to be in
scary
this
because I
position.
didn't think that this was going to be like the front runner to this extent. I was almost banking on something like Fabelman's being stronger, and then it was weaker than expected. And now it's sort of, we're in this position where it's a little bit scary.
And I feel like people are betting themselves out of shape to try and find the alternative to Everything Everywhere All at Once at this stage.
It's hard though.
It is really hard because there are knocks against almost everything in terms of what can win. So we're all kind of defaulting to Everything Everywhere, but it's giving me Power of the Dog vibes from last year.
Really? So now it's become Power of the Dog for you?
Not fully quite yet. There's potential for it to be.
I just don't see where... I feel like it has the heart more than like being the heady critics film, like this more cerebral pick. And that's usually what gets like taken down. So that's where like I don't see a total equivalency with Power of the Dog, although it does lead nominations, and that's where I'm a little scared. It's also not going to win BAFTA, probably. Or at least I don't think so.
It could, though. That's the thing. Right now, there are so many different ways that multiple races can go right now with SAG and BAFTA. Everyone seems to think that there's only 1 or 2 outcomes. There's like 3 or 4 outcomes in so many different races. And there's a lot of time for a lot of these campaigns to turn stuff around.
What do you think the runner-up is?
It is hard because based on everything that has happened so far, winning the Globe, probable BAFTA win, not missing a nomination anywhere, I'm kind of forced to say Banshees. Also because it's number 1 or number 2 in so many key categories that one would need to win Best Picture, like the acting category, screenplay, exactly. So I'm kind of forced to say that, but do I fully believe it? Not exactly, because I just don't feel that Banshees has everything it needs to win Best Picture. It's a very critically adored film that a lot of critics love and cinephiles, but in terms of the masses, I just don't know how broadly it plays to 10,000 voting members
that
of the Academy.
almost feels like that could have been the Power of the Dog that drops down, but winning Critics' Choice is really the only mega win that Everything Everywhere has right now. I almost want to go into Oscar night with a little bit of uncertainty.
Sure. If you want uncertainty, then Spielberg wins DGA, Top Gun wins PGA,
Right, exactly.
Banshees wins BAFTA or TAR, and then Everything Everywhere wins SAG, and then we're just like...
WGA. Yeah. At that point, I would still go off of the WGA SAG and be like, that's not a bad combo.
Unless if WGA throws us some curveballs like they did last year with like Don't Look Up winning WGA instead of Licorice Pizza, which everyone thought was going to be a layup for Paul Thomas Anderson. Right now it feels like a layup for the Daniels.
Yeah, especially with Banshees not in there.
Right.
But I also feel like in the scenario where Banshees was in WGA, I still think that Everything Everywhere would have a really good shot to win that over it.
I think so too, especially with WGA, but at the same time, I can't help but feel like Banshees is stronger overall in screenplay at the Oscars, just because it's a more respected screenplay than I think Billboards was. I can see why that lost to Get Out, which was the more creative and original idea. The thing I keep coming back to is that for every person I meet that loves Everything Everywhere All at Once, there's an equal amount of people who despise Everything Everywhere All at Once. And those people tend to be older. And the Academy is comprised of mostly older voters.
Yes.
That's really concerning. So I don't think Everything Everywhere wins preferential ballot on the first round of voting. And if it goes then to multiple rounds, that's where I think it could then show some weakness, and that's where it might have the most number one votes and be in first place in the first round, but it wouldn't win Best Picture outright.
That's the thing. It's like Coda, you can easily see it being 3, 2, or 4 on people's lists.
And yet Coda was getting a lot of number ones though. In the sneak peek ballots, it was actually people's number ones too. I mean, I know that doesn't mean a lot. Penelope Cruz, sorry to her.
So the screenplay thing, we were talking about this earlier. If Everything Everywhere doesn't win screenplay, we were saying I think it actually seems dead to win Best Picture.
That's
and so even though Banshees is really strong, and maybe it could still pull off a director, it's like 3 Billboards losing to Get Out was like, this is not going to win Best Picture anymore.
You don't think there's a probable chance that Everything Everywhere could win with director and Ke Kwan?
But here's what I was saying, though. I don't think we're getting a scenario with, Nomadland or Power of the Dog where it's like, well, we know that this person's winning director, so we don't have to give them screenplay.
Yeah.
Whereas Everything Everywhere is not really going to be guaranteed to win director or screenplay. So if Everything Everywhere gets Best Picture, it's going to get screenplay. A lot of times they do just evaluate the category off of their favorite movie wins the screenplay award.
I mean, the last time we had bullshit fuckery like this was 2014, where everybody tried to tie themselves in knots into how here's how Wes Anderson can get his Oscar, here's how Alejandro can get his, and here's how Linklater can get his.
Yeah, that's how I'm feeling. I was saying to Justin, the rule is that if you win Best Picture and you're not a lock to win director, you're going to take screenplay. And I can't think of a scenario where that didn't occur.
And even when the screenplay is stronger, almost objectively, The Favorite versus Green Book.
Yeah.
Right. The Favorite was a stronger screenplay. It had such strong dialogue. That kind of feels like a Banshees. And then Power of the Dog versus Coda. I mean, Coda was
the best
passion, but I don't know why the screenplay. It almost seems like they don't consider it in isolation enough for Banshees to take it.
Yeah,
but I definitely don't rule out that Banshees is very strong. And even as someone who loves Everything Everywhere, I couldn't decide who has a better screenplay because Banshees is just so well polished. But it is those 3 categories though, picture, director, screenplay, that really determine who's going to win Best Picture. And some people, a lot of people predicting not that Everything Everywhere doesn't take director or screenplay, but they default in Best Picture to it. And I can't do that.
I can't with that.
I can't say it doesn't. It has to take one of them.
What would you guys do in a scenario where Spielberg wins DGA, let's say Todd Field wins BAFTA?
Right. I think that's very possible.
Literally no clue. Well, it depends if Everything Everywhere won PGA.
Yeah.
That would maybe have it in contention for director still.
Even with just a Critics' Choice win, we saw recently how Bong Joon-ho won Best Director for Parasite when the film won Best Picture. So that would be a good logical way to go.
Yeah.
But then you also have to weigh, are they going to do a lone director win for Steven Spielberg? Because I know it sounds very improbable considering that last year we just saw that happen with Jane Campion, but this is such a unique special circumstance where he is such a revered legend. He's won the Golden Globe, so it's not like he hasn't won nothing. Giving him the win in this category just seems right. Not just for it's not about honoring Fabelmans, it's about honoring him. The question, though, becomes, is there enough passion for Fabelmans to get it there? But then you also then have to ask yourself on top of that, maybe it's not about the passion for Fabelmans, maybe it's just a passion about him in general, and that's it. It wouldn't matter what the movie was.
I feel like it's rare that the director winner wins off of their clout.
Yeah.
Especially recently, Hosanna Vicious for The Artist, even Tom
People
Hooper
were predicting Scorsese for Irishman too.
Yeah.
Early on they were.
Spielberg has the Globe, so he has something already.
Right.
Yeah.
So if he picks up another win, then I feel like
DGA would be... That's the thing, is I feel like PGA and DGA are by no means guaranteed to go to Everything Everywhere.
No.
And that's where I'm looking to be thrown for a loop. If Spielberg won DGA, it would be... and if Daniels lost BAFTA, that'd be really...
Yeah, because Daniels, the way things are set up right now, Daniels should be winning BAFTA.
Should be, in a way.
But, we all know that they're not a guarantee. It could go to, like I said, Todd Field is a great alternative here. I think the smart bet right now is to say just predict Daniels to win DGA BAFTA all the way through. But if they lose somewhere, then see who they lose to and assess from there.
Yeah.
Because I think that's the key, is who do they lose to? If Todd Field wins DGA and it's not Daniels or Spielberg, then Todd Field is winning Best Director.
I think if Todd Field won DGA, that would mean a lot to me.
Yeah,
if he was doing that. Yeah,
that would be substantial.
Yeah, that'd be kind of insane. But that movie did do really well with nominations. So I kind of agree. If Todd Field won Best Director, I would think that could win the Oscar. I think even if DGA went with Spielberg, I don't know about the Oscar. I have a harder time buying like the we want to give Spielberg another award thing, because in the acting categories, I feel like is where people try to play the most chess with like who deserves the award now and like where is it in their career.
Yeah.
And it's like half the time it matters, and then half the time it like doesn't. And it's really hard to say when it does and when it doesn't. It usually errs towards whether they like the movie rather than just like that singular thing. Yeah, and director, you usually want to be like a top 2 contender overall. And the last time I can remember that it doesn't go to a top 2 is when Ben Affleck didn't get nominated, so he had to go to Ang Lee.
Well, you know who's number 2 right now? It's Todd Field.
You think he's above Spielberg?
I mean, in terms of precursor wins throughout the season, he has more than him. One of the things that I've found over the years, at least as long as I've been doing this, is that you either need to win the key awards, like Coda did last year, where it wasn't anywhere near the top in terms of overall precursor wins with the regional critics and things like that, but it won the right things. So you either need to win the right things, or you need to be number 1 or number 2 in overall precursor wins. Because this is not like a formula that always produces the correct result. But more often than not, the regionals, and I think you guys know this is why we track this stuff over at Next Best Picture. The reason why it's important to track and see who's winning the most is that's what speaks to the broad general consensus.
Yeah.
So then when we equate that to 10,000 voting members of the Academy, well, what does the consensus lean towards right now? Last year, when you have Jane Campion as an overwhelming favorite, winning 50 plus awards for Best Director, you figure, okay, it's only 50, but then equate that to 10,000 members of the Academy, you have a pretty good idea of where things are going, you know?
I mean, a lot of those awards are critics, but it is true, like, even winning a bunch of critics awards, like, in a way, is almost like its own precursor. Because if you look at, like, Olivia Colman, I know she won the BAFTA, but, like, she was leading with critics wins, and so was Bong Joon-ho, even though he lost Critics' Choice. So the Daniels are easily leading the director
100%
critics. And he pointed that out. This was even before the Globes, that, like, the Daniels would win Critics' Choice Director because they did so well in precursors, even though people were still saying, oh, maybe they don't even give it to. And then from there, if you win Critics' Choice, you have a very good shot of winning the Oscar for Director, and it's like a 6-year streak right now.
Yeah.
They've been nominated everywhere, and McDonough has been nominated.
So if we break this down, right, because all we have left is DGA and BAFTA. Spielberg is only nominated at DGA. He's not nominated at BAFTA.
Yeah.
If Daniels win DGA, no matter who wins BAFTA at that point, whether they lose it or win it, would you guys say the race is over? Daniels are winning Best Director?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so then let's say Spielberg wins DGA. If Daniels win BAFTA, what do you do there?
If Daniels won BAFTA, I would go with Daniels still.
But Spielberg wasn't nominated. If he was nominated, would they have gone with Spielberg as well?
No, because they didn't like the movie.
I agree. I'm with you on this.
It's like an
I'm challenging you guys here.
Now.
Yeah.
Because if Daniels win either BAFTA or DGA, I'm easily predicting them. If they don't win either, I still might predict them.
Ooh.
I still might predict them because they're not going to be,
because
they might split in a different direction. If they both went with Todd Field, then okay, that's one thing. But if they both went in a different direction, then I would say there's still room for Daniels to win director at the Oscars. I have a hard time seeing if they're going to win DGA and BAFTA director. I really don't know.
I know we're
like it's like 50-50 that they.
I know we're focusing on Daniels, Todd Field, and Steven Spielberg right now, but like BAFTA has other people. Yeah, and I was just thinking
could give it to Edward Berger.
I was thinking of McDonough actually, because like if Banshees really is as strong as people think it might be, it's possible. Like it's low on the possibility scale, but it's still possible.
It's there. Also because Banshees is so strong in screenplay, it's like easy to give him an award there.
It would be really cool if Edward Berger won Best Director.
He might.
That would be awesome.
It would be. If you only knew about the nominations and you didn't know that or how All Quiet played anywhere else, you would guess that he's going to win director. I want to know what you think the Top Gun possibility is, because a lot of people think it's Coda, because it doesn't have the stats. Here's what I have to say about that. I don't think it's Coda. If it won Best Picture, it would be its own thing, because Coda was still an acting and a screenplay movie.
That made no box office whatsoever.
It didn't check the boxes, the typical boxes that every other movie, I think since Crash, checked to win Best Picture that Coda disrupted. The only two movies that have all those are Banshees and Everything Everywhere. But Top Gun, without any SAG nominations, that's a big deal for me, is that it doesn't have SAG.
It's not even so much acting, it's also missing director as well. Like, it doesn't have the strength of the actors branch behind it.
No.
Coda had that.
Yeah,
and that for
absolutely.
me is like the difference here. I still think
that's
for,
why everything ever is like. That's why
for as beloved as
1917
Top Gun is, for as awesome as Top Gun is, I love Top Gun. I think we all love Top
Yeah, I
Gun
like
here,
Top Gun
right?
a lot.
I don't think the Academy sees that movie as Best Picture material. A lot of voters, I think, take their Best Picture vote seriously. When I say a lot of them, maybe it's 50-50, but like still, it's a significant chunk. They are thinking about how will this vote not only reflect my own personal taste, like this is my favorite film of the year, but also they're thinking about like its legacy within the Best Picture pantheon, like to stand alongside your Lawrence of Arabia's, your Gone with the Winds, your
Codas.
Return of the King, your Codas. I mean, but yeah, like, and so I think a sequel, which Top Gun is, and they don't reward sequels often.
Unless it's a sequel to another Best Picture winner.
Or if you just are Peter Jackson and you just did the greatest achievement in cinematic history, well, you know, arguable, but you know what I mean. I just don't think Top Gun is that. I think it's a Mad Max Fury Road or, you know, one of those types where it gets its tech wins and off you go.
I feel like I can still make the case in a sense that it can get people's hearts and it means something for like the state of cinema, or at least that's been the buzz around it.
But that's the nomination.
And that it would do very well on a
That's-
preferential ballot. I feel like it could be very high up for people.
The win package
The
is
win
weird.
package, and like even at the other
I
awards,
know,
it's
that's
just
true.
PGA.
It's going to
and
win
then
an
you
adapted
get
screenplay.
editing,
Stop it.
sound, and
Stop
picture.
it right now.
There are
So
some people
weird.
who have said that to me. They think that it could win adapted screenplay.
That's pretty gross. No,
That award belongs to Sarah Polley, you bastard.
It really does. Oh, I want it more than anything.
All right, so you mentioned that Oscar voters vote based on like how does this look within the pantheon of Best Picture films?
Not
Like,
not all of them, but they
Some of them
take
do.
their votes seriously is what I'm saying.
Do you think the Academy thinking about their relevancy and reflecting on what the win means might actually favor Everything Everywhere? Because I think with Fabelmans, we see people saying, I've seen this before, or it doesn't feel important to me. And they're almost like rejecting how they have been in the past.
Yeah.
And their own like dinosaur legacy kind of perception. And Everything Everywhere, as like crude of an example as it is, like over the top example as it is, it gives them more relevancy and it breathes new life into the Best Picture race. It's also like the only movie that's not like all white people. It being more of like a breath of fresh air, do you think that helps Everything Everywhere?
Totally. I think that it's interesting in that it's both unique in its storytelling and its original concepts, that it feels unlike any other Best Picture winner that we've ever had before. And that is exciting. That is something new that I think we were talking about before about Top Gun possibly saving cinema and being a representation of that as a Best Picture winner. Everything Everywhere All at Once, I think, also marks a transitional turning point as well in our industry. There's a great narrative here between that and Top Gun, where Top Gun is the studio-backed, big, giant blockbuster that made over $1 billion. It's a sequel. It's existing IP. People really, really loved it. Where Everything Everywhere All at Once is this original idea from an indie film studio that did really well financially, but, you know, not quite at that level, but relative to its budget and the size of the movie. But I think there's enough voters within the Academy who, on top of the things you mentioned in terms of diversity representation, it's LGBTQ themes, also the originality of the storytelling, the chance to honor some of the members of the cast, and there's just a lot of exciting prospects there.
Yeah.
On top of all of that, you have the ability to recognize a film that I think represents nuts and bolts original filmmaking that's not heavily influenced by existing IP, visual effects, and is not, for some people, a scary place where the industry is heading. Instead, it's kind of like reverting back to, no, you know what? We can still create low budget, mid budget adult dramas that get you excited, that make you feel young again, that make you think, that engage you emotionally, that are packed with action, humor. Like, this movie is a smorgasbord in terms of its entertainment value. It's a little zany for some and a little all over the place. I get it. And for older members, they're not going to fully vibe with it. I recognize that. I've seen that. And I think that it's concerning, but I do think it has more things working in its favor in terms of people feeling good about the win. Remember something. 2009, what movie did they go with for Best Picture? Not the $1 billion grosser. They went with the nuts and bolts film that for them just represented something that I think a lot of people within the industry can relate to more. The Hurt Locker, because big giant films like Top Gun and like Avatar, they're almost like unicorns to most people within the industry. You're rarely ever afforded the opportunity to work on one of those, but you'll probably spend most of your career working on smaller movies. There's more freedom to be creative. There's more collaboration, less cooks in the kitchen. And I think as a result of that, you get stronger emotional attachment to those crews, to that production. And I think that that's what people within the industry, at least, they want to celebrate. Is they want to celebrate this kind of a film.
It has a really warm cast and a warm crew. Like the feeling around like the crew and being very intimate, and the Daniels like connecting their crew together.
Yeah.
And, like I've heard a lot about that story as well, and it also feels a little bit like Coda.
Jamie Lee Curtis has done so much work to get people excited about the movie, especially people like in her demographic in terms of age and so on and so forth, who maybe wouldn't be so on board with something like this.
It's funny how much that I feel helped the movie get where it is.
Like her validation, I think, helped to people to take it seriously.
Yeah.
I also almost wonder if the movie being out since March and also having this sort of idea that it can win has maybe made some Academy members who didn't like it so much reconsider or want to check it out again. You know? Maybe that's helped. I also think what you were saying about like the movie and what it represents as like this indie creation, like that could be a good narrative for it to win PGA too.
Sure.
And the Fabelmans, like, you know, that was a little bit of a flop.
The Fabelmans is just not going to win Best Picture. Like, it so pales in comparison.
Well, I was just saying for
PGA,
PGA, I feel like it could.
I don't want to so definitively say it because I like
the betting odds markets have abandoned it. I thought
that was like
really
plus 1,000
for them to be. They've been really conservative. They usually are very conservative, and like they're like, oh, it's plus 1,000 to win, which is like you 10x your money if you bet on not to win. It's like crazy. They wouldn't do that for no reason. Not that they're what I go off of, but
and here's something that somebody floated to me the other day, and I've been thinking about it. If Fabelmans wins PGA, and if it also wins DGA, then it's like, okay, fine.
Yeah.
You've got a potential picture director combo there.
Yeah.
But what else?
nothing else.
Nothing else. You know, like, and I know with the preferential ballot, we're heading towards something like that at some point, or we're heading to the day where it could be a lone Best Picture win for something. You know, like there's some crazy shit that we're going to get someday.
Michelle Williams surprise.
No, I refuse.
I was like about to agree with you, but then I was like, hold up now.
Too much.
I'm trying.
That's been my hold up with Fabelmans all this time, and I'm like trying to figure out: is it John Williams? Doesn't feel like it. Is it production
I guess
design?
screenplay. Like, if you really wanted to say that they like it
so
so
low
much.
on the totem pole because there's so much good stuff.
No, but if they liked it
as
enough,
the WGA.
that would be a little.
That'd be shocking.
Very fucked up.
I'll say that'd be shocking.
And it would mean a lot actually for the strength of the Fabelmans. Because
agree.
WGA has been important. Even Moonlight, that was like the one big guild that it actually did win.
Mm-hmm.
And Spotlight and Parasite also won WGA. It's like a big deal if you win that award.
I agree.
But I don't think it'll happen. I think we'll be safe.
I don't think it's going to happen either. No.
Also, Fabelman's not having editing. Like, I know that, you know, Coda and Birdman didn't have it, but I understand why those movies didn't get editing.
There's
the
no
Fabelmans
reason.
definitely could have deserved an editing nomination. Like,
There's a whole sequence in the movie that's him basically using film editing to
and
uncover the affairs of his mother.
To music and in a really powerful way. It's like
there's like no excuse.
editing was actually really good in the movie.
I actually thought it should have been
and
nominated for
cinematography
editing.
too.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, cinematography.
It underperformed, and for a movie that should have performed and was expected to perform, unlike something like Coda, like you said, that was a big deal that it missed that. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood also missed film editing the year it came out too.
And Roma,
Roma, great. You know, these are movies that were expected to get film editing.
Yeah.
So in cases like that, like Birdman, Coda, they're kind of like the exceptions to the rule in a lot of ways. With all that said, this has all been for Best Picture, hasn't it?
We're combining three categories.
Okay.
You can throw supporting actor.
We gotta tie it back. Like official prediction, right?
Yeah.
Everything Everywhere for you right now.
Right now,
Because we're all hesitant. We
Yeah.
definitely covered the fact that we're not 100% confident.
Right now, today, before everything happens, Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yeah. All right. That's obviously what we're predicting. And director. What's the director prediction?
I'm going with Daniels right now. They have
Daniels.
a precursor lead. They have a good chance of winning both DGA and BAFTA, I think. And if they lose one and get the other, then it still looks good.
And knock out original screenplay too. I feel like it's kind of been the same conversation.
I'm very divided on this because on one hand, this is following the Three Billboards Get Out trajectory a little too much for me at times.
Yeah.
To where I feel like I have to say Everything Everywhere All at Once, but I am a little nervous because, like I said, I think that McDonough just keeps getting nominated for writing at the Oscars. He hasn't won a writing Oscar yet, and I can't help but feel like it's going to happen at some point. Also, too,
like
9 nominations for Banshees. Are you guys really going to predict it to go home empty-handed?
It happens, though. It happens.
I know.
Yeah.
Either that or
it's
The
a good point, though.
Fabelmans is going home
Honestly,
empty-handed.
and then there was, I think, was that an article published on Next Best Picture about how the
I didn't expect
Banshees
it to
could go
go
like the favorite and win Best Actor?
That was posted the other
That's
day.
a fair scenario,
I didn't
too.
expect the Banshees to go home empty-handed at Critics' Choice, though, and it did.
I agree. I didn't
but
expect
also,
it either.
the Fabelmans.
You know, I think that the worst thing that could happen for Everything Ever in screenplay, not overall, is if it wins, if it sweeps Best Director, then they say, oh, well, Daniels are definitely getting Best Director. So now we can afford to give screenplay.
Yeah, I guess if they became undeniable.
But that's
like
when you get back into that
Nomadland.
2014 mindset again, and it's like, nope, they just did it all the way through.
Yeah. They could do
Screenplay,
it all the way
director,
through.
picture.
I still am going to predict Daniels just because it feels like an award that it has to win.
I think it
Just
matters
to
too
go
much
along
that
with Best
that
Picture, and
if
that's
I
what I'm
think it's
predicting.
winning Best Picture, I'm gonna go with screenplay.
I think I'm going to lean the same way. Like right now, I
I
think
also
I'm
think of Green Book and the favorite, too.
yeah, Jesus, yeah. God, oh my
That
God.
was so
bad. That was
disappointing.
bad.
Oh my god, no. Oh man.
Adapted screenplay. I mean, do you think there's anything else to say other than Women Talking is gonna win?
Well, I think there is an argument, but it's not a strong one. So
For which movie would you even?
Whatever wins the BAFTA. What
yeah,
about that?
yeah. I like.
Well, Living might win. Yeah, Living could win the BAFTA, but I
could
don't
win.
think Living would win the Oscar. I think that would be like British home turf sort of situation.
It's going to be Women Talking. It's just kind of fun to discuss what would be the number 2.
Yeah,
but
right.
realistically, it really isn't anything now at this point.
Yeah, because All Quiet and Top Gun are in Best Picture, but both of them feel like the screenplay is not at the top of your priorities list if
No.
you're going to give that film a bunch of nominations. So.
The Top Gun screenplay could help it win picture, but it's not going
Right.
to win screenplay.
Right.
And All Quiet, you know, I've been thinking about this a lot lately. I did think about how it surprisingly won the National Board of Review for adapted screenplay, and it ended up getting the
remember that.
BAFTA nomination. It ended up getting the Oscar nomination, and there's like this little thing in the back of my head that's wondering if BAFTA loves it a lot,
Right.
could they
Yeah.
go for it there? And then it's like,
Actually, yeah.
are we?
competitive.
Is
They
that
could.
our number 2 at that point? You know?
They could go for that
I
actually.
could put it at number 2.
Because the BAFTAs love that movie so much.
The Oscars love
I
it
feel like
too.
that movie also. I know we're not doing BAFTA predictions. I think that's going to win more than just like cinematography at BAFTAs. I think that could go for like
Yeah.
production design and who knows how many things, even sound or something.
Score.
And that would actually make it the runner-up in a lot of categories to the Oscar. A big
Yeah.
threat. So we're all predicting Women Talking and adapted screenplay.
Yeah,
Hands
that would
down.
be a good award because
Be a
Sarah
great
Polley's
award.
like she's writer director. That's been a huge trend. Writer directors.
It was also infuriating that she won Critics' Choice and didn't get a chance to give a speech. So
Oh yeah,
I would love to
Yeah.
finally see that happen for her for a change.
it's a good way
Yeah.
to like end the season for Women Talking, which has struggled
On a
Yeah.
high note, yeah.
On a high note. Yeah,
It has the Best Picture nomination.
I also think
That
it
is
might
key.
lose WGA to Glass Onion.
See now, if that happens, I will feel so bad for Ryan Johnson, who already gets enough online hate as is, who I don't think really deserves it. And at that point, it's like for him to win an Oscar over Sarah Polley, it's like even Ryan didn't ask for this, people. Like,
Yeah, I don't like when people blame people who win. Like, even like Harry Styles winning the Grammy, it was like, he didn't look like he wanted the burden of winning that when
Yeah.
he was up on stage.
like Kate Blanchett doesn't even want to win.
no.
She doesn't want to win.
If you ask her point
McDormand
blank,
didn't want to win.
yeah, if you ask Kate Blanchett point blank, she will tell you that she would rather somebody else take it.
Yeah. So speaking of, I mean, Best Actress.
It's going to be Kate Blanchett.
I'm going to predict Kate Blanchett because I think she'll take BAFTA. Even if Michelle Yeoh takes SAG, fine, whatever. BAFTA's the strongest in Best Actress. And films just don't sweep to that degree where they take like 2 acting prizes and director picture.
Tar did really, really
Tar
well.
has to win that award. I
Tar
think,
did
because of how
way too
it
well.
did.
It did better than all of us were expecting.
I feel like it would be a weird movie to get shut out, especially when there's that one standout element of her performance. And I think that her performance is more of an Oscar type of performance than Michelle Yeoh. Even though Michelle Yeoh has a great narrative, we've seen them give 3 Oscars to people. They don't really care about that.
It would be one of the happiest Oscar wins I think I will have ever seen if Michelle Yeoh wins. But at the same time, I keep going back to that Critics' Choice night. I was at the Everything Everywhere table. I was like this close to Michelle Yeoh at the ceremony, and everyone thought she was going to win because the movie was winning all
were
these
at the
other
table?
prizes. Yeah, she was really expected to win, and when she didn't, there was just a light bulb that went off my head, which was, well, if we're not going to do it, who is?
Yeah, because I feel like the Critics' Choice, we're going to be that movie's biggest fans, and it's hard to imagine it winning anything it didn't win there.
So I'm of the belief right now, I know a lot of people are thinking that she'll win at SAG. I think the movie still wins ensemble and still Ke Huy Quan wins, but I just, at this point, I think it's wiser to predict Kate to just sweep the whole thing.
Wow, really?
Even
SAG and BAFTA. Yep. I think it's the wiser move to predict. I mean, I know Michelle Yeoh has put up a fight with the critics, but Kate won, other than tying LAFCA with Michelle Yeoh. Kate won the major critics. She won New York. She won National Society. Tied Los Angeles. So, and like I said, it kind of sucks because I would love to see a woman of color win this category, and for Michelle Yeoh to be the first Asian actress to also pull this off.
It'd be so well deserved too. It's kind of like Anthony Hopkins, where people wanted Chadwick Boseman to get an Oscar because that would be really nice. But people were even saying like, yeah, I think he'll win, but I just think Anthony Hopkins was like the best performance.
Yeah.
And people are saying that about Cate Blanchett. They're like, well, no one gives a better performance this year. As much as I love these other actors and I would love to see them do this, and I would even love to see a person of color get the award, I just think Cate Blanchett is my favorite performance of the whole year. And I'm hearing that, so I'm like, I think it's still going to be her. It has felt really close. Even at critics' precursors, they've been neck and neck.
Oh, yeah.
So I would like to see if Michelle Yeoh can challenge by getting a SAG win.
I would have given everything for Daniel Deadwyler if I could have. Like, objectively, I think Kate gives probably the best performance in the category, honestly. But I would vote for Michelle because Kate's already gotten 2. This is just like the right time, the right role. Everything just feels right for Michelle, and it will suck to let this go by, especially because we all know Kate's going to get another 8 nominations, more maybe in her life.
Supporting actor.
No, best actor.
What?
Oh, best actor, yeah. My God, how much time do you guys have?
I know. We could probably breeze through more of the text.
Yeah.
So I was thinking like, so this is obviously a 3-way race, but I was looking at like the correlations between like SAG, BAFTA, and the Oscar, and it's like if you don't win either SAG or BAFTA, you do not win the Oscar. So it's like it's going to become a 2-horse race at some point, and I don't know which way it's going to go.
No, I'm fairly confident Frasier won't win BAFTA. But I remember last year, so many people were so confident Will Smith wouldn't win BAFTA. And he just swept the whole thing.
Yeah.
So when sweeps happen, they just happen. Regardless of what you think the group is going to end up doing. So there is a world where Frasier wins both BAFTA and SAG.
Yeah.
There is a world where Farrell wins BAFTA and SAG. There is a world where Butler wins both BAFTA and SAG.
I don't know about Farrell winning SAG. Because the other 2 performances are covered in makeup and prosthetics.
But let me ask you this question. Let me ask you this question about SAG. Do you have Banshees going home empty-handed?
Let's say, yeah. Let's just say sure.
Okay.
Let's just say why not. I've seen movies with 4 nominations go home empty-handed, right?
Sure.
The performances in Banshees are just not showy in the way that SAG and Oscar often like to go with.
I don't know what to do with this category until we get SAG and BAFTA, but today, if you ask me, and this is going to sound weird, I'm going with Frasier right now. And the reason why I'm doing that is because SAG is after BAFTA this year, not the other way around like it usually has been. Considering that he could win SAG, give another moving viral speech right before voting opens.
Yeah. That's
right
true.
before. That could be very influential. But let's say he doesn't win SAG. And he does win BAFTA, then he's clearly out of it, right? Well, then between Farrell and Butler, I honestly kind of have to lean more towards Butler because of the makeup transformation, because of how well Elvis has done throughout the season. I'm sure Farrell has more industry supporters and friends because he's obviously been in the industry longer and worked with more people. But Butler gives the type of Academy Awards Beatty performance that we've seen them just go for all the freaking time. It's annoying, and I'm wishing and hoping that they would do something different. Like, Frasier's role is also kind of that Oscar bait thing of transformative, big melodrama, like emotional. You know, I loved it. I'm not a whale hater like some people out there. But the fact that it doesn't have a Best Picture nomination is extremely hurtful.
Yeah, I almost wonder... I almost kind of think Butler has a better shot at SAG, maybe, than The Whale.
But then other than Golden Globe, why has he not won anything this year, precursor-wise?
I don't think Rami Malek won a ton of Critics' Awards.
He won some. This is the argument I keep making to people. Joaquin, Redmayne, and who did you just say a second ago? Who was the person you just said, like 2 seconds ago?
Who did I say?
Yeah, Rami Malek?
Yeah, you're wrong.
Yeah. They all won something. Like
And
they
Butler
won.
hasn't won anything?
Other than the Golden Globe.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah,
He's
he really
only got
hasn't.
the Globe. He literally did not win a
Dang.
single regional critics group. You know
Wow.
why? Because they were all given the breakthrough awards. To me, if he was that good, he would be winning the Best Actor prizes. And this just goes back to the whole general consensus thing I was saying before. Where's the consensus around him? I think it's a little bit more divided because these other two performances are also so strongly competing up there with him. He is young, which they typically don't tend to do. They tend to go older in this category. It's not saying it can't happen. They can go young here.
Seems like an Eddie Redmayne almost.
Yeah, and in some ways, sure. But the other thing too is he has been getting a little bit of flack I've seen online about the voice and, you know, I can't quite shake the performance, like, sort of thing. It almost feels like Lady Gaga and House of Gucci almost to a certain extent. There are some people that are kind of looking at it like, dude, seriously? Like, but at the same time, there's so many things also working in his favor.
It could also win makeup at the Academy Awards.
Yep.
Like, it has 8
So could the Whale.
nominations. I think I'm also going to go with Brendan Fraser. I saw a clip on YouTube. This is sort of insignificant, but it feels like it matters. There's a Howard Stern with Brendan Fraser in there, and he's like, you know you're going to win the Oscar, right? And he's like, but the fact that people were like, yo, yeah, you know this is like your award, right? Like, it's your award. If that attitude is there, you know, he could easily sweep.
Well, people thought it was Glenn Close's award too.
But it wasn't ever really her. It's more like.
Can I
more like Will
take that and
Smith.
run with that for a minute?
Yeah, go
Sure.
ahead.
Okay, going back to that Olivia Colman comparison, right? Gaga won CCA. That was the only thing that she won that year. She tied with Glenn Close. Butler's got the Globe. It's the only thing he's gotten all year. Then you have Glenn Close winning the Globe, SAG, and Critics' Choice. Now, Fraser didn't win the Globe, obviously, but let's just say he wins Critics' Choice and SAG. And then you have Olivia Colman, who wins a Golden Globe. Farrell won a Golden Globe.
Yeah.
Farrell could also win at BAFTA.
In shaky
and
races.
he's got the Best
Yeah, I see where
Picture
you're going with
nomination to his name. This is where that favorite Banshees comparison came into play here.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting how it almost mirrors the Best Actress race of that year to a T.
I actually am closer to leaning Farrell than I ever have been, because normally just like the content of the performance, the makeup transformation, real life person thing makes me lean more towards Elvis or Brendan Fraser. Austin Butler's name is Elvis now. But like Colin Farrell, he does have more performances under his belt that are like well respected, and a lot of people are really behind what he's doing in the movie. And you're right that maybe Banshees, like walking home empty-handed, is sort of weird. The more split up a race is, though, the more I think like a BAFTA win is almost more influential. Like Christoph Waltz, even for Django, that was like a weird race. No one knew was happening.
Yeah.
And they went with the BAFTA. And Tilda Swinton for Michael Clayton, like everybody was going with different things. Same with Frances McDormand. Everybody was going with different things. And then what the BAFTA does wins. If you kind of sweep and then you lose the BAFTA, it's still not as likely that you're going to win the Oscar with just that.
But does SAG coming after BAFTA this year kind of change that theory a little bit?
Oh,
Yeah, it might actually. I can't tell how much that. I mean, I think it does.
I think
matter
what this is going to
give
come
a big
down
speech.
to, unless if one person wins both, what I think this is all going to come down to is whose speeches are well received. If it's split between two winners, one at SAG, one at BAFTA, it's going to come down to whose speech got people most excited to want to vote for them.
Well, Colin Farrell will shout out Jenny the donkey, so that's pretty powerful.
Colin Farrell's speech at the Golden Globes was really funny and charming.
I agree.
I don't remember Austin Butler's speech.
He's good.
I don't really remember his speech, to be honest with you, but also, too, I think since then...
He's gonna sing and dance as Elvis. He promised the Academy that
No, he
he
did
wins.
not.
He'll sing and dance.
Oh.
Brendan Fraser's.
what?
I mean, it'd be like a reason to get him up on stage. So maybe.
Imagine he just gets up on the stage and he just does like the little pinky raise like he does in the movie.
I wanted to do like like he deep throats the microphone.
No, he takes the Oscar. Lord have mercy.
If he doesn't do that, why did we even give him the award? Would be.
And if he doesn't do in the most cliched way, like thank you very much. Then
Oh, no.
That'd be cringy though.
I mean, I hate to say it, but now I kind of want to see it happen.
I know. Deep fake it. We'll deep fake it.
No, but I think that, at the end of the day, that's what this is just going to come down to. It's just going to come down to whose speech at SAG and BAFTA got people to want to vote for them. If somebody gives a lame speech that doesn't go over well, that might hurt, because I think at this stage, two things that are happening. It's the person And the performance, obviously, they're intertwined. The performances are good across the board between the three of them.
Yeah.
Butler's is the most baity. Fraser's is the second most baity. And then I think that Farrell's, it's not a typical Best Actor winning performance. That's the one thing that's holding him back for me.
Yeah.
It's the one thing.
That's why he might be my number 3. Because, like, between Farrell and Butler, they're both performances that would get an Oscar, but the Academy did not like the movie The Whale, and they fucking love Elvis, and that's where I'm like, oh, these are the two I'm wrestling with.
Yeah.
I might still go with Fraser, even though we haven't even mentioned it up to this point, but like there's that 13-year stat where it's like since Crazy Heart, you haven't won Best Actor if you haven't been in Best Picture. And that would break a huge stat, which has predicted some really tight races, too.
Yeah.
Really tight races.
And Fraser's not Jeff Bridges, but you could make the argument that his comeback narrative, you either buy it or you don't. Because comeback narratives have failed Sylvester Stallone, they failed Glenn Close, they failed Mickey Rourke.
Michael Keaton.
Why do you have to bring that up? Jesus. And he lost to the young freaking guy.
That's actually a very similar race. It is.
So maybe it is Butler.
I've been kind of going with Butler, and I'll say that for now.
I'm going to go with Fraser for now, assuming that Butler doesn't win BAFTA or SAG.
Yeah, obviously assuming.
But if he wins one of them, I have to kind of switch over to him.
I also don't think it's impossible that Butler wins BAFTA because they love that movie a lot.
Yeah, at this point, I just kind of hope that one person doesn't win both because then it will be predictable who's winning.
That's almost disappointing.
Yeah.
I'm going to say Fraser until proven wrong. And like by proven wrong, I mean like there's easily a world where Butler takes something and then I go, oh shit.
Yeah.
And if he does win SAG, his speech is going to be really good. That's the thing that you're saying.
Yep.
If he wins SAG, I think he may have it.
And then the voting is literally like right after that.
You guys want to follow this up with a really short category?
Yes.
Supporting actor?
Yeah.
Do we even need to discuss it?
Key!
Yeah. This is easy. This is like the easiest thing of the night almost.
So happy for him.
Yeah, I'm so happy for his Oscar. Congratulations, Ki Kwan, on your Oscar. It's definitely happening. There's nothing else that could possibly happen. If something else happened, the Oscars would have to nuke themselves. Like, I don't know what... I have not seen better speeches from an actor winning an Oscar. His Golden Globe speech, it was so hard not to, like, just have tears.
He's just so happy.
He's so happy.
He's really enjoying the moment.
He's very grateful.
How can you deny that?
No.
How can you take away what is his?
I keep telling...
And everybody knows the story about his career. Everybody knows it.
I keep telling everyone, the way you open up the Oscars this year is you open up with Not To performance, straight into Ki Kwan's acceptance speech.
Oh my god, yeah.
And you've got the best 20-minute opening like for the Oscars. I mean, the Jimmy Kimmel monologue withstanding, we'll see how that goes. But like, it could be a banger opening if that all happens like that.
Even Bassett, people are pretty excited to see her win.
Yeah.
So do you think that Bassett will win? Because I'm gonna predict her now because I think she'll win the SAG.
I think she'll win even
BAFTA,
if she loses BAFTA.
Yeah.
And she might lose BAFTA because they don't give a single fuck about Black Panther usually, but I do think Angela Bassett kind of has a life of her own outside of Black Panther, which is why she's able to get nominated when they don't even care about costumes.
This is where I have Banshees right now.
Oh, you do have Carrie Condon?
Just for now. Like all the other races that we've been talking about right now, things can go any which way other than Ki Kwan.
Yes.
So with that said, I think that there is a world where Carrie could win BAFTA. Maybe Angela does also win SAG, but in no situations, and I think you guys have been there before too. In a situation like that where you don't sweep the whole season, you kind of got to go with who's got the Best Picture nomination. Which is also why the Fraser prediction I'm on shaky ground with too, an actor. Because I recognize he doesn't have the Best Picture nomination. But, there are knocks against Farrell winning, and then there are knocks against Butler winning, as we were saying before. Here, the knock, I think, is a little bit more substantial, which is there might be enough Academy voters that still scoff at the fact that this is an MCU film. And are we ready to give such a high Oscar to, an MCU movie? I don't know if many people think like that, but I know some do. But I think this is more of this is just for Angela Bassett. It's time.
Yeah, that's the thing. And especially her getting the BAFTA nomination solidified that for me, because they just did not go for the movie, really. And then they didn't like the first movie.
Like you say, you'll still predict her if she loses BAFTA.
I've just seen the narrative take hold. Like, everybody thinks she's going to win now.
Yeah.
And it's like a general public thing where people think Angela Bassett's getting her Oscar. And I also look at the performance and I see, the Oscar clips are very Oscar clippy.
Yes.
That's the other thing. And Carrie Condon doesn't have that. I mean, she has good clips, but I don't think there was one,
There wasn't one that gave me like
of-
goosebumps.
Yeah, it wasn't quite like that.
I'm having a hard time imagining Banshees winning nothing. It makes sense to predict Bassett to win SAG. If anybody else other than her wins, though, very big deal.
Yeah.
Because also, we got to remember, yes, we've had Critics' Choice and Golden Globes. They're not industry at the end of the day still. We still have not heard from the industry yet. I do think that there is still wiggle room here. Would you agree with, though, that Carrie Condon is number 2?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because I could see her winning BAFTA. I could just see that happening.
And I think the thing that's like made me believe that Condon is still in this, because I've heard people say that Angela's going all the way and there is like no number 2 and that there's no one even putting up a fight. Condon does have the most precursor wins still overall.
Yeah.
So all it takes without a Best Picture nomination, once again, I'm gonna like say this, if Bassett does not sweep and she loses, even if it is the BAFTA, if she loses to Carrie Condon, I'm looking at that precursor haul. I'm looking at that Best Picture nomination. I'm looking at, they want to give Banshee something. And I hate to say it like this. I really, really do. But we're seeing right now this trend of women of color being passed over amongst, both the film industry and then, recently with the Grammys, too, of Harry Styles winning Album of the Year over Beyonce. I don't want history to repeat itself here, but I'm just trying to read the tea leaves at that point, So I think that it's still a race, but at the same time, I want Angela Bassett to get that Oscar. I really, really do want her to have one, and she deserves one. But there are still a few ways that this can go. I am not ready to say this is a done deal.
Carrie Condon's also such a new face to most people.
Yeah,
is the other thing.
Agreed.
I feel like pretty confident right now about Angela Bassett, but I see what you're saying, and I also think a little bit of Sylvester Stallone and Creed, who I know missed bigger nominations, but not associated with the Best Picture movie. It was just about him and his narrative and his career, and he also gave a performance that would have merited it, and then he loses to a performance that's attached to a Best Picture movie of someone who was also that was probably one of his first on-screen performances because he was in theater.
I'm just trying to think back on narrative comebacks. I know this is not a comeback, but it's a narrative-based win in a lot of ways for a lot of people. I mean, the performance is good. When she's on screen, she is crushing it in that movie. My problem when I saw the movie was I thought the lack of screen time was going to be a hindrance for her.
I thought she wasn't going to get nominated when I saw it. I was like, oh, she's not in most of it.
Yeah.
Never mind. And then people were like, no, this is going to win or definitely be nominated. I was like, whoa, I guess people are still there with it, and it turns out people are really behind it.
Yeah.
Apparently she has 20 minutes of
also
screen time,
the
which
thing
is actually
is
not that late.
with this category being no one could figure out who the front runner is. There's not an obvious front runner, even though Carrie Condon's great in Banshees. None of these performances feel like they're an easy Oscar grab, and so once people give permission into a narrative, I feel like that taking hold with Angela Bassett is sort of like a domino thing where it just becomes easier to get behind her as a win, because that doesn't feel like a winning performance either because of the screen time, because it's in an MCU film that's not
but in a way
nominated.
I think it kind of does feel like a winning performance because of the Oscar clips that she does get.
I'm saying when you watched it.
That's me though. That's someone who didn't even like the movie.
One other thing that we can also just consider here is she's undeniable and she just sweeps. Mm-hmm. She goes on to also win BAFTA too.
Yeah,
and
that's possible.
If that happens, then congratulations, Angela Bassett. I will feel great about that because then it's expectations are set. We can head in feeling easy about it. Because one thing that I would really hate to see happen is people being so confident that she's going to win, and then when she doesn't, it feels like a sucker punch to people.
Oh, that's what's going to happen if Carrie Condon just takes only BAFTA.
Which is why I'm trying to tell people, don't be. This is not over yet. Has she not given everything?
That's what she's gonna. If she loses to Condon, she's gonna
narrative.
stand up in the theater and and yell.
She delivers the monologue.
Yeah.
Oh.
All right, let's go cinematography. Does everybody have All Quiet?
I do have All Quiet right now.
Yeah. What do you think is the
almost
runner-up?
think dare I say it's an easy one?
It's Elvis.
Oh yeah, I guess so.
It's Elvis.
Yeah, I kind of thought about it because I was like, "What the fuck, Elvis?" And then I was like, "Well,
I'm starting to brace myself for Elvis winning a stupid amount of awards. Not that I would hate the text, because despite me not liking Elvis, I have nothing to knock against the way it was made and the production, all that.
I would say the cinematography can be a little artificial looking to me.
I don't want it to win cinematography. I think All Quiet's.
I don't think it's going to.
I would be very, very happy to see a woman win that category. Truly, I would.
Yeah.
It is my fourth or fifth in the category in terms of overall preference. It just has this digital, overly produced sheen to it that I'm just not personally a fan of. Whereas I think Bardo, All Quiet have a lot more going on. Empire of Light is just such a name check nomination. It kind of frustrates me.
Damn it, I hate that.
Tar is an inspiring nomination,
cool.
and I love that it's there.
Yeah.
Truly I do, but it's never going to win.
No.
I think this race will be determined by British Society of Cinematographers, because it's the only precursor where Top Gun is not nominated, and Tar, Elvis, and All Quiet are. Because there is a world where Top Gun still wins ASC, BAFTA. We had an Oscar night not knowing
Top
anything.
Gun was definitely a snub too. Like when I rewatched that film with my parents, my mom fucking loved it, by the way. Like, and my mom is like, you know, whoa, go Coda, like that kind of thing.
Yeah. It's winning Best Picture is what you're telling us.
Well, exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying here. I think All Quiet is Oscar worthy in many ways. It looks like if 1917 were a hybrid of like Deakins and Lubezki shooting it. It almost feels like it should have been a layup for a cinematography win all along, even though it was such a slow start.
I was shocked.
I was shocked too.
Critics did not go for it with the regionals or anything. Like I couldn't believe.
Yeah, I think I said it's been the weirdest.
Like,
I may have said early on, like, oh, if All Quiet's like in Best Picture could win cinematography. I feel like I've said that to you. Do you remember that? I don't know. Like early on.
I'm not giving you that validation.
Oh, like, you might have said that.
Like it just felt like a movie that could win if it's in there with a bunch of support. I think it's gonna happen easily because no Top Gun.
Not only no Top Gun, no Avatar.
Yeah.
No Babylon,
Fablemans.
no Batman, no Fablemans. Like, this category was insane.
Yeah. I think Top Gun's going to win ASC, but I think All Quiet's going to win BAFTA.
Yeah. And then I think it could win British cinematographer, too.
That too. Editing, I am going with Top Gun. I think it's really hard because Everything Everywhere could be like a Whiplash type of like indie movie that just has the most impressive showy editing, but
tough.
It's that tie to the sound category that's really important.
The sound category has surprised people with how closely it's been tied.
But
like
if we had two sound categories, and hypothetically, considering how well it did at MPSC, if Everything Everywhere was nominated for sound editing and it wasn't nominated for mixing, we would all be saying it was going to Everything Everywhere.
Yeah, but it's what wins sound and also wins. It's not even just getting nominated.
No, I'm pretty sure the correlation's with nominations.
It's nominations, but winning also happens like 75% of the time.
They go hand in hand a lot for wins.
And Top Gun almost looks like a near lock to win sound, and it's strong in editing, which is like in a normal year, maybe it is a normal year, it looks like, oh, there's your sound and editing win right there. Kind of like Dunkirk or something. Yeah,
I begrudgingly do have Top Gun winning both sound and editing right now. Yeah, because that correlation is just way too strong for me to ever doubt ever again.
Especially after Sound of Metal.
Yeah,
I can't believe that like would
were you
never
predicting
have
Chicago 7?
I was
too, and we had the same experience because we were both like, it's the most editing award, isn't it? But it's like, it's also the sound award for some reason.
And then last year, I remember so many people didn't know what to do with editing, and they ended up going with Dune, which had a sound nomination.
Yeah.
And anybody who made that prediction referenced the sound stat, and they were right. So I'm not going to doubt that again this year. I'm going to just go with Top Gun, and if I'm wrong, I will be so happy to be wrong.
Oh yeah. And I also think Everything Everywhere, I'm predicting it for 4 awards. It's hard to say anything's winning 5 or more.
Yeah, in this day and age, you don't win that
quite
much.
A sweep, and you don't need to win editing to win Best Picture. I also remember Parasite, people thought that was going to win editing, and I thought it was 4v4 because of the sound and because you don't need to win editing to win Best Picture or anything like that.
Example. But Everything Everywhere, there hasn't been a movie so heavily edited like that, or just edited like that.
And also the sweep that it has over critics groups, like Top Gun doesn't really stand a chance in terms of how much it's won with critics groups.
And
it's so different that it makes me wonder whether it could pull off, something that goes against the odds.
And AC is not going to help us because there's a world where Top Gun wins drama and Everything Everywhere wins comedy. Yep. And we're like, okay.
Yeah, and great. I think BAFTA's going to go with Top Gun because BAFTA loves like racing movies.
Sure.
And this is close enough. You have planes that are flying around and stuff like that. I feel like that's the type of thing that they go for.
They like engines.
They love engines. They love revving. Yeah.
Ships, planes.
No Time to Die. He was like, that's still a vehicle movie.
The Aston Martin, baby. Let's go.
No Time to Die still counted, actually.
So,
I didn't even predict that. And I was like, it had freaking cars in it. And I was kicking myself over it.
I feel good saying Top Gun, even though I would kill for an Everything Everywhere win.
Yeah,
It's
I
my
want-
favorite editing of the year.
I'll predict Top Gun.
And
We're all saying for sound too, right?
Yeah, I was gonna go to sound.
Sound, I think, pretty easily Top Gun.
Yeah.
All
I think
Quiet though,
If anything upsets, it would be All Quiet.
because that
And-
has Oscar-worthy work for
What,
sure.
what
yeah.
about the possibility of it being Avatar? Just hear me out on this one.
But didn't the first not even the first didn't
didn't.
even win, and it lost to a war movie.
I'm only
too.
thinking it because of the Best Picture nomination, and I understand it's going to win visual effects. Like, we all know that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, don't you feel that might win something else on top of
I
that?
don't really think...
Well, no editing nomination too.
Because they nominated it very minimally, I think.
Yeah.
Like, they didn't even go to cinematography or anything like that.
In a year of 5, it would not have been nominated for Best Picture. So,
No.
you know what? Yeah, I agree. So, yeah, visual effects only, nothing else. Sound goes to Top Gun.
But All Quiet maybe challenges at BAFTA, but it's still Top Gun
Oh,
just feels like it's...
I'm predicting
So
All Quiet to
strong.
win Sound at BAFTA.
Oh, you think so?
Yeah.
And you think that wouldn't deter you?
I would still feel pretty good about Top Gun.
Visual effects, we just kind of said Avatar. We all
Visual effects,
agree.
I like
There's not
Avatar.
really contest. It's not. I don't even think it's worth entertaining anything else.
The way of winning Oscars.
Production design.
Tough one.
You're gonna say Elvis? I feel like you're
I'm
gonna
gonna
say
say
Elvis.
I'm not, actually.
Oh,
Oh,
not
wow.
either.
No. I've been thinking about this a lot lately, and I've been thinking a lot about what you were saying earlier about I can't imagine Elvis winning so much. I think it's going to win costumes. Catherine Martin in both categories. For Moulin Rouge, Great Gatsby, she's won both. And a lot of people are predicting the same thing to happen here. However, Elvis has not actually done that well in production design this season in terms of wins with the precursors. Babylon is actually winning pretty much everything it needs to so far. One CCA in what was considered a little bit of a shocker. I say shocker because it's not, at this stage especially, it doesn't have the Best Picture nomination. It had like kind of mixed reviews.
It had a lot of Critics' Choice nominations, so
It did.
so
it
it's
did.
fair to say like maybe it's a little harder for it to win elsewhere.
But it's still like, an underdog fighting for recognition, given the box office beating everything is
Yeah.
endured. But at the same time, I have a hard time imagining Babylon winning both this and score for a film that does not have a Best Picture
Yeah.
I mean,
nomination.
it would be like kind of like The Great Gatsby winning 2 Oscars without, and Ma Rainey won 2 Oscars without Best Picture.
Sure, but Ma Rainey also did sweep for makeup and costumes.
Yeah, and I don't know if we're going for a sweep.
That's what I would have to see for Babylon to predict it to win the Oscar for production design. Is I need to see it win ADG. I need to see it win BAFTA.
Well, what if BAFTA goes with All Quiet, but Babylon still won ADG?
In those scenarios, I'm typically forced to go with the film that has the Best Picture nomination, which would mean All Quiet, I guess, in that case. But then that's why I'm also wondering how strong is Avatar here, considering the first film won this prize and it has Best Picture nomination. It's making me wonder.
One thing about All Quiet winning BAFTA, they're more likely to give it to a war movie. Even the Oscars didn't give Saving Private Ryan or 1917 production design. So
Right.
I don't know if that matters that much, but I still think that movie is an outside shot. Avatar production design, I just feel like it's not as surprising as
We
like,
return
the first
to the
movie,
same
you know?
environments, yeah.
Well, it is a different environment, to be fair. But
Kingdom
maybe it's like
is
what
new.
what hurt it
Shipwreck.
in cinematography, that it's just so much of it is just done in post. I'd be fair and say that like all the design and stuff is somebody's vision and everything, and it shouldn't really be looked at that way. But I think it might be looked at that way.
The thing about like Elvis for me that is hurting that movie more so than anything in terms of the visual element is the editing. The editing does not allow the audience time to fixate on how detailed those sets and the cinematography and the composition actually is a lot of the time. And so I think that a lot of that movie's craft is actually working against it. I'm going to say Babylon for now, assuming it wins ADG and maybe BAFTA, but if it loses BAFTA to, like you said, something like, say, All Quiet, I'll have to revisit this and decide, am I going with All Quiet or am I sticking with Babylon still? I might go towards All Quiet just because, like I said, it has a Best Picture nomination.
Elvis, I've been saying that I just don't think the sets are as memorable. Like when you tell me production design Elvis, I just think of like stages and it's not that compelling to me. Whereas even like Moulin Rouge and Great Gatsby, like I have crazy visions in my head of like what the production design is in those movies. Babylon is a similar narrative to previous winners like Mank and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Those were in Best Picture though, so that makes them stronger. But there's like 2 stats. One of them is in Babylon's favor, one of them isn't. There's a pretty long running stat that the production design winner is nominated in Best Picture.
Yep.
But Critics' Choice is also excellent at predicting the... I think they were wrong like once in the past decade. And it was with Lincoln when Anna Karenina lost, and that was surprising to everybody. So I'm gonna go with Babylon for now. That's kind of I just don't totally buy Elvis in this category.
No, I don't either.
I didn't feel like Elvis production design made sense, but I also wondered, is there a perception of the movie as having lavish production design that's Oscar worthy just because Baz Luhrmann is doing it? In like a similar way that like Sound of Metal had drums, so you associate it with editing, so you give it editing if like Elvis could do that. But again, I agree that like it doesn't stand out like Babylon does. Like it doesn't pop off the screen as much in terms of its sets.
There are drums in Elvis, so I mean.
Okay, there's some drums in Elvis, and well, Babylon has drums too. To be fair,
yeah.
they both have drums, so that's why they're neck and neck. I might hop on your guys' bandwagon though and go with Babylon 2.
Like that scene when they go in the back lot and they have all the different sets running. I mean, it's incredible work,
and they do crazy oneers to let you know that like these sets are just massive.
Come into the asshole of Los Angeles with us, people.
Costumes. I'm gonna still say Black Panther. It's a little bit because of just a personal reason. Like when I watched the film, I was like, those costumes are fucking amazing. Like I was more attached to the work on the costumes than I was with like any other aspect of the film, except for maybe the performances.
And you know what? It won CCA. It could very well be heading for another Guild win again, and also then just on its way to the Oscar.
They're just so damn creative, and like in a way, they were so Oscar baity. Like they characterized everybody, and they helped build the world and like people's status in that world.
I am though once again like nervous about predicting a film to win without a Best Picture nomination.
I feel like costumes matters even less than production design with that, and even Cruella too.
But that was a sweeper.
Wakanda Forever was also not nominated
for BAFTA. Yeah,
but neither was the first Black Panther.
Yeah.
That's the other thing is the first Black Panther was not nominated for any of those awards it won.
But here's the other thing too is that we already got the Oscar win for the novelty of introducing us to the world of Wakanda, and here I know we get the Underwater Kingdom, and we also revisit Wakanda. But could the fact that we are going back to Wakanda be a hindrance because it's like, well, we've seen a lot of this already.
I think a lot of the costumes felt different from the first one.
I do.
And Angela Bassett has like a crazy hat on.
Sure. I do agree with you. I also think that the opening funeral is just incredible.
Well, yeah. There's a lot in there.
But I
think it's the most costumes.
I'm going with Elvis for now because Best Picture nomination, Catherine Martin. But if Wakanda Forever continues to keep winning, even without the Best Picture nomination, I will be tempted to switch.
Well, when you say continues to keep winning, I don't think there's that much that's going to convince you because it's not at BAFTA, and it can win fantasy at Costume Guild, but then Elvis can win the other category.
Then the question is, does Elvis also win at BAFTA then? Or does something else win?
Oh,
because if Elvis doesn't win at BAFTA and something else wins, I won't feel as confident.
That's true.
BAFTA,
that's true.
Though, right? Like what else?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. We're going to have to go in pretty cold.
You could maybe go off of just Critics' Choice. It wouldn't be that bad of an idea because they're also really good at predicting this category.
Yeah,
sure.
They called it for costumes and production design the first one, while BAFTA went with the favorite for those two awards.
Yep.
Wakanda Forever also got 5 nominations. Like it wasn't really too bad.
It did really well. I thought it was getting Best Picture when they started announcing stuff. I was like, fuck, Women Talking's out. Black Panther's gonna get in.
I could even make the argument that it was number 11 if I wanted to.
Maybe, yeah, you could.
Maybe number 12 realistically, but at the same time, it was there. It was up there.
Makeup.
I might go with Elvis here just because.
CCA went with Elvis.
Yeah.
It'd be a weird lone win in my opinion.
Am I just going with CCA on all the texts?
That's not that bad of an idea.
It's not that bad of an idea. It's sometimes
and last year, didn't last year it was just...
sometimes the texts just go in one direction. It's really obvious. Like I remember the year of Nomadland, like every single award outside of like some of the like the actor, actress was like obvious.
BAFTA lined up last year. CCA did not line up as much.
Oh, really?
Well, they gave editing to West Side Story. They did cinematography for Power of the Dog.
Oh yeah. They did some weird things. Yeah. Usually though, I would say
BAFTA was very tightly.
Am I wrong to say that usually the Critics' Choice are a little more like in line with the tech categories than BAFTA is? Because BAFTA can sometimes be pretty unpredictable.
Sure, I would argue that is the case. Yeah, and I look at these charts a lot of like, what wins at CCA, what wins at BAFTA, what wins at the Guild, and then I try to put those pieces together to figure out what's going to win at the Oscar. And yeah, CCA has been really, really helpful in the below-the-line categories in the past. I think with makeup, it is very much tied to Best Actor between Fraser and Butler. But does it feel weird, because it does feel weird to me, that The Whale, without a Best Picture nomination, would win actor and makeup?
It happened with Chastain.
I understand that, but...
And Meryl Streep.
There's something about it feeling a little less accepted this time around. It doesn't feel like the Runaway the same
it didn't
way
win
that
Critics' Choice, you know.
Yeah.
And even though he won Best Actor, if it was a Runaway, then
Yeah, and the Whale has more prosthetic work than Elvis.
the Whale's prosthetic work is also just different than like other prosthetics,
and it can
right?
rub people the wrong way. Like,
there's a lot of people that are divisive though on Tom Hanks's makeup work in Elvis.
Yeah.
They pretty much do love Butler's work.
Yeah.
And there's
I
also a
love it, too.
lot of extras getting their hair done and things like that in the background.
And then the Whale is one guy.
Right.
One single guy.
yeah,
Right.
that's true.
I'm going to go with Elvis for now.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Elvis too.
It's weird though because I feel like the Whale is more in line with what usually wins the Oscar in a sense, where it has that really strong lead performance that is completely transformed by the makeup, and like the makeup is so integrated into the performance. Elvis is a lot like that, but I feel like the Whale is even more like that.
The fact that I think the Whale is like a chamber piece of, just one location, no one else has any significant makeup work except him.
Yeah.
I actually think that is more of a hindrance than anything.
They should have made Hong Chow like a burn victim or something.
Oh my God.
Then maybe they would have gotten makeup or something. I don't know.
Actually, the guy that delivered Charlie his pizza, that guy had full makeup. He looks nothing like that.
It
That
was a
one shot of
5-year-old
him.
child, and they made him into a full-grown man.
You know what's actually my personal winner of this category? Coin flip between All Quiet and the Batman, honestly.
Your
Yeah.
personal winner. Yeah, the
Yeah.
Batman
All
is
Quiet
really
was
good.
incredible.
It's not just Farrell. People fail to realize that. It's not just Colin Farrell. Obviously, he's the most showy aspect of it, but there is more work going on there than just him. And All Quiet, war films just don't get their due recognition in this category. They'll get nominated here and there, but they never get the win. And that's unfortunate because here I was I was pretty blown away by some of the makeup work in All
Yeah, I
Quiet.
agree.
Just the image of him with the dry mud on his face. I
agree.
can't
The
get that
mud caked
image
on
out
his
of my
face.
face.
Yeah.
Out of my head.
It's
face.
also
Score. Do we all have Babylon?
for now. For now.
Yeah.
For
I know what
now.
you're saying, like, it feels like
you get what he's saying. I
it's
didn't understand.
almost
what he was-
undeniable in terms of like it just feels like the biggest score there. However, it's the only non-best picture nominee in the category.
Yep.
But I also have no idea who the runner-up would be.
That's the thing. I really don't know who the fuck else would win. Even though All Quiet, I feel like might win the BAFTA.
I don't know about that.
How much would you both just completely shit yourselves if Everything Everywhere won a BAFTA in this
At
category?
BAFTA,
Yeah,
I don't
in a
think
weird
so.
way.
I mean, I would
Everything
absolutely
Everywhere
shit
is
myself
not
on
like
this
number 5 for me for what's most likely to win. I feel like it could weirdly pull off an upset because they made some big fucking snubs for movies that I thought had a chance to win.
Yeah.
And now I'm like looking around. What's the alternative to Babylon? I don't even know what it is. Why not
Most people
Everything
think it's The
Everywhere
Fabelmans.
In like 2 or 3? I don't really. I don't
But
know
now
about
that
The
now that
Fabelmans.
John Williams is not retiring anymore, that kind of killed
yeah.
that narrative. So
The narrative where he needs a 6th Oscar.
All Quiet winning is like one of those. This is too cool to happen, so it's not going to happen.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna happen. Yeah, I'm just gonna go with Babylon because that one is the most memorable by far.
There's a good chance
Oh,
it
yeah.
just goes on to also win BAFTA, and
Yeah.
it's a sweeper.
Yeah.
And at that
I
point,
think
it
it might.
doesn't need the Best Picture nomination then.
Yeah, it's also the most memorable score, I think, by far. The biggest earworm, yeah.
I almost wish I'd like never heard it because it's just in my head like literally every other day.
Every day.
I think they strategically made it so that when I'm walking around, it pops into my head because of like how fast I walk, and that was mean of them to do that to me.
For song, do we all have Not To, Not To?
Hell yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely,
I think it's totally happening. The Globe win,
I love
Critics'
this. I
Choice
love
win.
I love them rejecting like the A-list celebrity and just going for like something totally out there. But now it's the front runner, and I feel
it's
like
such a cool
people
win.
are so behind this happening that it
Yeah.
just they can't go with a Lady Gaga or
To be
Rihanna.
clear, though, I mean, if you look at the correlation of this category with films that have won Critics' Choice and Golden Globe, because they're the only two major precursors we have to this category, it's strong. It's
Yeah.
so strong. You
Yeah.
don't need the Best Picture nomination at that point.
No.
However, I think it should still be floated that
Mm-hmm.
it could lose to one of the Best Picture nominees here. Hold My Hand from Top Gun Maverick. Or This Is a Life,
This Is a
yeah.
Life.
But I don't think it's going to be This Is a Life.
Nah.
I love that song. I'm glad that it's there.
too. Me
But
too.
it could be Hold My Hand. Now imagine going back to the whole, can Top Gun win Best Picture? If we're trying to figure out what's a win haul for it, this could be a surprise upset where it's like, oh, like early in the night, oh my God, is Top Gun going to win Best Picture? You know what I mean?
I feel like it rarely
Song wins
this category
psych me out
rarely
like that,
matters to me.
Yeah, I just like, listen, I just like
know
trying
what
to
you're
view
saying.
everything from every possible angle, so this way I'm not surprised or upset. It's like I foresaw it at one point or another, and this way I'm not disappointed. But
I was predicting it by default for like a while.
I love the song. I would love for Top Gun to win this, but at the same time, I would love it for not to win even.
Oh yeah. And for Lady Gaga to not even be able to win the Golden Globe, I feel like how?
Yeah.
You know what should be winning score this year? If it's not her, it's RRR. I really love the score for RRR.
The RRR score was
it's
awesome.
fucking awesome.
The Batman should be winning Best Original Score.
Oh, okay.
Just saying.
Didn't even make the top 15.
Yeah, that sucks. It's not nominated.
Criminal.
I like a lot that RRR actually got something, even though it wasn't up for international feature, and then it's winning something is like pretty crazy. At least there's some level of recognition, and it's gonna have the sickest performance too.
The 2 stars have said that they will perform the song live.
It's gonna be the best thing ever.
Oh, that's
probably.
awesome.
Yeah.
Top 5 things ever, maybe.
That's awesome.
They're being given literally, I think, this on a silver platter to where, like I said, the producers of the show, you need to open the show with this. First of all, you also get like all of India to tune in for your ratings for the Oscars at that point too.
Yeah.
I mean, you should announce it in advance that they are opening the show with the song.
I mean, they may as well keep the song category reserved for India and Indian films for like the rest of time, just so they can get those ratings up.
Even people that are watching The Last of Us will switch the channel.
Imagine if it doesn't win and they give a performance that people are really excited about and they're going nuts.
Remember when Lady
You almost
Gaga?
can't imagine.
I was gonna
Do you
say.
remember when Lady Gaga did the whole thing with her performance, where she like brought out survivors and then it lost?
Chris Pine was
And everybody
crying in
thought-
the audience. They probably didn't listen to the song beforehand. I think if the audience was given ballots during the show after the performances and said, hey, vote for the winner, they all would have voted for that song.
Animated feature.
Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio.
Yeah.
I thought of a thing, but I don't think it's really that true.
Is it a last wish?
Yeah, well, so The Last Wish is having a moment, but I think it's kind of very internet animation community that's going really nuts about it because they're discovering that the movie's really special and it's not just another Puss in Boots movie. I'm not sure that's extended to like most Academy members, but that movie is having a moment, kind of.
It is, and it was a lot better than I was expecting it to be. I think a lot of people felt that way. This is a banger category. Like, all the nominees are awesome here, and I would not be dissatisfied with a single one of them winning. But only one of them has a master, respected filmmaker's name in the title.
That is true.
And the minute that they decided to do that, like call it Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, I think even before people saw the movie, they already had their minds made up that this was winning Best Animated Feature this year. All the movie needed to be was good enough.
Yeah.
And I think it was a little bit better than good enough. It's not my favorite of the category. That would go for Marcel is my personal favorite of the category. But at the same time, I think also Guillermo's message of animation being a medium has resonated with people, and it is further pushing this conversation forward about animation getting its due respect within the industry. So there's a lot of other factors at play here, which is why congratulations, Guillermo del Toro. You're going to win another Oscar.
International film is also really easy. This has to be all quiet.
Yep.
Yeah, there's no other way.
You would be predicting the first film to ever in this category be nominated for Best Picture to lose, and that's just not wise.
And you shouldn't do that.
Nope.
Decision to Leave's not even here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Upset. Thanks for that.
Documentary is kind of nuts.
Documentary is actually really hard. It's actually really hard because for some reason, even though All the Beauty and the Bloodshed was like everybody's number one, once the nominations happened, I feel like people were like, "But is it?"
It didn't get a PGA nomination.
Yeah.
It didn't get a Critics' Choice nomination.
Mm-hmm.
I think this race is between Navalny and Fire of Love. I think all the Beauty is number 3.
I think it's still in the race, like, and especially if it can win BAFTA, then it would be in the race. But
Sure.
BAFTA, I could definitely see them going with Navalny.
I can see them going with Moon Age Daydream.
Ooh, I would love it, but that'd be so unhelpful because I'm also the Indie Spirits. When the winner is in the category, that's usually good to look at. But the Indie Spirits didn't nominate Fire of Love, so that's probably going to be Beauty and the Bloodshed. And then PGA didn't nominate that, so that's probably going to be Fire of Love, unless that was Navalny. So it's going to be hard to tell what's winning. It's going to be like totally ambiguous almost.
I have Navalny at number 1 because of the ties to what's going on in Russia today, and I think that that's resonating a lot with many people. It's also super watchable. It's a really, really thrilling documentary. However, Fire of Love could pick up enough precursor support along the way in the weeks leading up to voting. It also is reminding me, it's giving me vibes of Summer of Soul last year, where a lot of us were thinking, like, this probably, if it gets nominated, it's going to win, but is it going to get nominated because of the archival footage? And they typically don't like archival footage. Well, you know what? It got in, and then it won. With Fire of Love, I'm almost feeling a similar thing happening where now that it's here...
Yeah, once you get in, it's like... The bigger obstacle is the nomination oftentimes.
Yeah, but I feel like that you could almost argue that that's All the Beauty and the Bloodshed. Not that it's all archival footage.
I really believe that All Beauty and the Bloodshed's more of a film critic's movie than it is a broad...
but it was also like the considered like the number one for a while.
I liked it a lot, but I also feel like Navalny is more thrilling and compelling, and
Fire of Love maybe
topical.
is more a little bit of like an easy, entertaining watch than All the Beauty and the Bloodshed, and I kind of get
the
that.
biggest fan of the movie, so I can't really.
I love that we're all like advocating for like different things right now. Like, it's interesting.
When you read when you talked about the 3 nominees, and I thought like, okay, in context, like what people watch right now, because we watched Navalny at Sundance last year.
Yeah.
Maybe you watched it since. I feel like that does have a lot more potency.
I was very like lucky to watch it with an audience actually a couple weeks ago.
Oh, nice.
And the way they react during the phone call sequence, there are multiple moments where they're laughing. It's a very engaging documentary for a lot of people, and rousing, like very enthusiastic applause when it was over too, because it is very inspiring for a lot of people in that it's giving people hope to fight back against the Russian regime. That's why I'm giving Navalny today the edge, but I am watching out for Fire of Love.
Yeah, Fire of Love has a little bit more like filmmaking gravitas going on. Like the cinematography, the shots are really, really cool in that movie. And it does have a lot of heart. Them going with Free Solo and My Octopus Teacher recently, like, you know, more nature-oriented documentaries. Like there's an argument there. I guess All the Beauty and the Bloodshed, I don't know. It feels like maybe that sizzles a little bit after like the critics get a hold of it, because the other two, I feel like, are more crowd-pleasing, easy watches.
I think whatever wins BAFTA, if it isn't Moon Age Daydream, that is your Oscar winner, probably.
Yeah, that's probably what most people go for.
Yeah, I'm going to predict Navalny hesitantly, but I think it's a 3-way race still.
Let me go with Navalny, assuming maybe it wins PGA or BAFTA.
I also want to give a shout out to All That Breathes and A House Made of Splinters, both great documentaries.
And those are the Oscar predictions for now, and they will clearly change after things happen. I want to thank a wonderful guest, Matt, for dropping by in a surprising fashion. We didn't even know he was coming. He just showed up at the door, you know?
Right in time, too.
Yeah.
I'm really, really gracious that you all just let me into your homes, let me into your lives.
I don't know how you knew that we were doing the predictions video.
I've been waiting outside, hoping that you would just let me in.
Yeah, I've been seeing you out my window. I wondered why that was.
This was the time. It's time, Robbie!
I don't know the reference.
Spotlight.
A Spotlight. I haven't seen a Spotlight reference since probably Spotlight.
No, but seriously, thank you guys so much for having me here. I can't tell you enough as a fan of the show and a fan of you guys what this means to me. Letting me just be here with you means a lot, and I hope that the audience also appreciates this back and forth as well, as much as we do. I know that we all could talk about this for hours and hours on end.
It was a lot of fun. Thanks for being here. And we are big fans of everything you do, and I bet our audience knows, but you got a website, Next Best Picture, you got the Next Best Picture podcast. Great places to go if you care about awards, which you apparently do.
You'd be crazy not to follow Matt on Twitter. If you're into awards, you probably are already.
Or just movies in general. He's a great follow.
I would just say, if you love what you heard here, yes, definitely subscribe to the podcast, Next Best Picture. Check out the website. We've got a great team over there. Everybody is fantastic. We interview above and below the line talent all throughout the year, and we put a spotlight and a focus on the films that really matter to us. And that's something that I think is what has kept us in the game this long, is our passion for not just awards, but for the movies in general. If you have the time and want to hear more, I would really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing.
Do you think any Best Picture nominees are going home empty-handed at the Oscars?